Welcome to the Filmcast review of The Creator. I'm going to read the plot summary of this movie from IMDb. Against the backdrop of a war between humans and robots with artificial intelligence, a former soldier finds a secret weapon, a robot in the form of a young child, end quote. I'm David Chen here with Devindra and Jeff Kanata. Really excited to hear what you guys think about this movie. Obviously, Gareth Edwards, a director who has always had a flair for incredible visuals, as he did
Mhm.
with his movie Monsters and also Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Um, this is a original work, obviously heavily inspired by things like Lone Wolf and Cub and other great works, but
Every AI story. Yeah.
every AI story. And it was apparently shot on a Sony FX3, which you can buy at your local camera store.
Amazing.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So, all that said, uh, let's just get into it. Devindra Hardware, curious, you have obviously been into science fiction, something that's a passion for you, and you write for Engadget. What did you think of The Creator?
You know what, guys? I think Gareth Edwards continues to be one of the most interesting directors we have right now, right? Like, I remember when Monsters came out and we reviewed that here. We talked about it, and it was amazing what he was able to accomplish for an indie movie. I think mostly producing special effects on his MacBook, right? Like, that was the story there. Then Godzilla. I was like, I cannot believe the director of Monsters is doing a Godzilla movie. And it was really like visually fascinating and stuff too, like narratively kind of a mess. Rogue One. I cannot believe the guy who did Godzilla gets to do Star Wars. The creator. I cannot believe the guy who did Rogue One is now able to create this quote unquote original sci-fi story, but get it in theaters and deliver something that looks like a $300 million movie at a budget of around $80 million. Like, he just continually is fascinating to me in that respect. I love his
You
visuals.
you,
Yep.
you could add $200 million to the budget of this film, and it
Yes.
would still cost less than Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
Yes. Or
So,
many MCU movies,
and looks so much better.
And
mhm.
yes, and I think this movie is beautiful. I also think it's kind of a mess, and I wish like he had more writing help with this. I know Chris Weitz is co-credited on the screenplay, but I feel like Gareth Edwards needs better words behind him or better like ideas behind him. Because a part of me thinks this movie is a beautiful spectacle. Like, he shot mostly on location. They were able to deliver that low budget, low for a big budget sci-fi action movie, but a low budget because they shot the footage and then they were like, okay, the movie's cut. He cuts the movie. Do your special effects now. Then do your work. Not, hey, I don't know, maybe this character's going to do this thing and let's work on this VFX for months. Oh, we cut the scene. Oh, I'm sorry. All that work is gone. All that work was wasted, which is what happens a lot with Marvel stuff. Or we want to tweak this one thing. You got to go back and re-render the whole thing, and that's just like bad for the VFX workload. I think this movie is beautiful, and I think it's fascinating how it got made. But I really wish, just even watching that trailer, that it didn't fall prey to or fall victim to like what happens to most of his movies are. I love the way this looks. I wish the story connected better. I wish these characters connected better. I wish the motivations were better, because a lot of this movie works. John David Washington is great. I love the girl who plays the young AI. There's some really interesting ideas here too, like some scenes that I will be thinking about for a while. But at the end of the day, this is so weirdly simplistic. It is humanity wages war against AI, and AI is bad to humanity, and AI is to the AI side. They just want to protect themselves from evil humanity. There's no real gray here. There's no real interesting ideas when it comes to the nature of AI. And one thing that really bothers me a lot that Siddhant Adlaka wrote about too is just the Orientalism of this movie too, in the way that it feels like a guy who vacationed in Southeast Asia for very long, for a while, and just loved it there. He loved it so much, it is now his identity. It is now every aspect of his work, and I don't think the movie quite earns that. So there's like a lot of stuff to discuss here. I just really wish the ideas were bigger. I wish it connected better. It's also supposed to be sort of a love story, and that doesn't quite work for me too. And it's a shame. It feels like a chat GPT of several other AI and sci-fi movies kind of put together, but it looks really good. So I kind of have to give it credit for that.
Jeff Kanata, your thoughts on The Creator?
Well, Dave, I guess you could say my thoughts on The Creator are best summed up in the form of a limerick.
All right, let's hear it.
Though the visuals aim to be greater, the plot's like a duplicator. Just plug in AI. I can't fathom why someone in this world would create her.
Nice. Okay, I like that. It's kind of subverting what you thought the rhyme might be. Well done.
I agree with much of what Devindra said. It is a stunningly beautiful movie. There are images that I think could stand out as being some of the most freshest and most interesting brought to bear in sci-fi in a while. This notion of this, like you said, blue beam in ground, not blue beam in sky,
From
blue beam
sky
from
to
sky. This
Blue beam
sort of
from sky,
scanning of the ground.
Yeah.
It is so powerful and so haunting the way it is expressed in this movie. That alone is like amazing. And there are jaw-dropping moments that, as we've already mentioned, would feel epic in a movie 3 times the budget of this. However, man, this movie's terrible as far as just delivering the bare minimum of a interesting, believable, credible, original tale. And it bums me out because there's so much cool stuff. There's so much cool stuff. There are cool action sequences. There are cool art direction. There's cool design. There's cool ideas. But there's really no cool idea at the center of the story. And it frustrates me because fundamentally they hand wave. We'll get into details and spoilers, but they hand wave away some very fundamental questions you might have about how this is supposed to work. This universe is built on the notion that there are 3 stratas of robots, right? There's full-on robots. There's synthetics, which is sort of half robot, half human cyborg likes.
Mm-hmm.
And
human
then
skin,
there's like
androids or
well, I guess it would be the 2 stratas of robot and then human beings, right? There's like 3. But there's no behavioral difference between any of them.
Mm-hmm.
There is no difference. They all act exactly the same. They all act like people. There's robot people, and there's robots, and they're all the same. And it's such a missed opportunity. It's like
there's no texture to that. Yeah.
Why is there no distinction between them? Why do they not have any different behaviors, abilities, societies, interests?
Watching this, Jeff.
What?
I was just thinking, this is no second Renaissance. We did not know how good we had it with the Animatrix. Because just the prequel of the Matrix has more ideas than what's going on in this movie.
Yeah.
The second Renaissance is one of the short films in the Animatrix.
2.
Which is,
Part 1 and 2.
Part 1 and 2, yeah. Anyways, go ahead,
And
Jeff.
fundamentally, this is in the trailer we just played before this review, so this is not a spoiler. Fundamentally, the idea here is the most important thing in the universe is tucked inside this child robot, which does not make sense. They are 2 distinct things that the creator has done. They have created a child robot, and they have also created this very important thing that is inside the child robot. They are distinct. There's no reason why one has to be the other. And
the child robot is the thing, but
what?
I don't know. I always read it as sort of being like the thing, but we will talk more.
Let's talk about in spoilers, Jeff. If that's okay.
All I'm saying is, I can't. It feels to me very manipulative. Like literally, it is just because that's what happens in movies.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What happens in movies is you protect the innocent child, and so the metaphor has to become manifest of it actually being an innocent child, but contextually, there is no reason for it to be a child.
Yeah.
It's
like
also
a bit of a
want to point out to you guys, this movie is Avatar.
Yeah.
It is exactly Avatar. It is Avatar meets Children of Men. It is literally Avatar with a child.
I mean, I would argue Avatar is also every movie, Jeff. But where does one end? Where does one end and one begin? Yeah,
it's very frustrating to me because there's so much potential. There's so much splendor on the screen that is wasted in service of a very trite, very pat very uninteresting plot. Characters I don't understand the motivations for. There's some cool people doing some cool work in here. For what? And it's just a bummer.
Do you guys remember The Golden Child?
Sure, Eddie
This
Murphy.
is The Golden Child. This is so many movies we have seen already, which is the weird thing.
But there's no contextual reason why it should even have been a child in this movie. Like, give me an actual reason as to why it's a child. There's no reason.
There are things and ideas I can bring up in spoilers, and we will put a pin in it and come back to this. One thing I want to say too is that I don't think anybody else gets scale the way Gareth Edwards does. Like, I do think as a visual effects artist, like, he is somebody who has thought about this for a while and how to present it visually, and having objects next to other objects to denote perspective and size. And once again, that, manages to be a really welcome thing here too. So I really wish more people just get that, get some scale in your sci-fi, because it really does help. Cameron gets it, of course.
I feel like there's a lot of truth in what you guys have said. I agree with a lot of the issues that you've pointed out. And yet, I also had a great time with this movie. And yeah.
I remember you posting a negative review of this movie.
I thought you would hate this so much, Dave.
Yeah.
No, and there's many reasons why I would hate it, and we'll talk about those more in spoilers, but I had a great time with this movie. I feel like if I saw this movie as a kid,
yes,
this is a movie I would think about for the rest of my life.
It's written for a teenager, basically.
Yeah, but it's kind of
like
AI.
We have to stop the AI. You're right.
Well, I think the lesson of the movie is not that, though. I mean, I don't want to spoil anything, but the lesson of the movie is not that.
Yeah, but it's like it kind of is like, oh, when I was a kid, I remember watching movies like Blade Runner or Alien, and it's like these movies feel like they give you a window into what an alternate future would be, and that's how fully fleshed out the world in the creator feels. Yes, there are some problems. Like, I agree with you, Jeff. It would have been nice to distinguish a little bit more between the machines and the humans. Like, why are there's almost no differences except for one important one that we'll discuss in spoilers. But like,
but then there's like also there's machines that look like people.
Yeah,
and then there's machines that don't look anything like people, and they all behave exactly the same.
Yeah. It's fine. It's like how in BoJack Horseman there's like there's animals that can talk to you, but there's also animals that are just the ones you eat.
Yeah,
or
at least they behave differently.
Yeah, they comment on it. Yeah, there are differences. Yeah.
I think all the stuff that you guys liked about this movie, the visuals, the action, and I gotta say, the chemistry between John David Washington and the kid, that all really worked for me. And that was
she's
enough.
Great.
Yeah, she is great.
She's like a Haley Joel Osment in Sixth Sense level, like kid performance. I think
Madeline Yuna Voiles or Voiles.
She's a find. Like I was very impressed with
her first movie that she's ever been in. It's like, this is incredible that she's anchoring this movie. So all that stuff really worked for me. This is one of those movies where every 5 to 10 minutes I was like looking around and being like, I can't believe I'm seeing this on the screen. Right from the opening shot, which is actually in the trailer, with like these special forces people coming out of the water and like Nomad, this beam of light shining down from the sky. I'm like, what am I even seeing? This is incredible,
Beam go down.
Beam go down.
Wow.
Beam go down this time.
Up is down, left is right. Dogs and cats.
So, and I compare it to a movie like Blade Runner 2, honestly, which is like, that is a movie that has inspired generations of filmmakers.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, I don't actually think Blade Runner is that good of a movie. Like, structurally, I don't think it's that good of a movie. Like, it introduces really interesting ideas. The casting is amazing. The production design is, like, there's a lot of amazing. There's a reason it's so revered.
Yeah. But also, nobody was making science fiction movies like that at that time.
That's true. And this one does feel a little bit more derivative, as a result of that. But I had a great time with this movie, and I agree with you guys. It has virtually nothing to say about AI, which is a real missed opportunity. But
go.
I do think it has some things to say about things that aren't AI. But yeah, it's theoretically about AI, and it doesn't have anything to say about AI, and that's a huge bummer.
It's not just that, like, and we'll talk more about this in spoilers, but like, it's just the basic setting of it. Like, John David Washington starts as somebody who should feel a certain way about AI, and there's no reason he doesn't, right? There's no thought to his character as somebody who was in a position for several years, like just the background work of like, why is this person doing this? Why do they think this way? What is the texture of this world? I think this movie misses out on a lot. It's a shame. Also,
All right.
Allison Janney's in this movie. Can you believe it?
As a badass.
Oh my god.
Allison Janney,
Oh my
like
God.
channeling like
Linda
Colonel
Hamilton.
Quaritch or Colonel Quaritch in, in Avatar. You know,
Well, channeling what's
So-
her face who was in Avatar too.
Sigourney.
Edie Falco. Edie Falco.
Edie Falco.
Edie
Like
Falco,
it's
yeah.
like, you know, older ladies being tough on screen. Sure. Let's make room for that. I'd love to see it.
All right, let's get to spoilers because there's a lot more to discuss. So
Yes.
spoilers for The Creator starting right now. All right, there's a lot of problems with the movie, right? And
Let's go.
and I do want to discuss them. I mean,
This
the biggest
movie that Dave loves.
this movie that I really enjoyed. I mean,
I really enjoyed it too. It's just I cannot escape these problems.
the
That's thing.
biggest, you know, one of the biggest things again that Siddhartha Dlaka brought up in his review is like, and that many people brought up in their review is like, this movie uses Vietnam War imagery, but I don't think does it in a particularly thoughtful way. Like a ton of Asian people got killed in this movie, and it's like, to its credit, the movie places you on the side of the oppressed. Like it very much wants you to sympathize with the oppressed and like be horrified at the actions of the U.S. military, right? But yeah, the fact that it like compresses, you know, Asia
Entire
into just
continent,
the entire
yeah.
into new Asia, like there's no
Yeah.
distinguishing, and that is like exacerbated by what you guys have already brought up of the fact that like we just have like the robots are just dressed like what you would conventionally think of as Asian people. You know, there's no
they don't have a culture.
yeah, there's no
of
like
their
culture, right? There's they just basically borrows from like Asian cultures essentially to like to tell
Isn't
the
that
story.
right? And to me, I am very allergic to this. It's sort of like adopting Asian ideals, and it's like, isn't that profound? What does it mean that the robot is wearing Buddhist robes? What does it mean?
It's like the equivalent of
really
like
mean
the
anything.
guy who gets like the Asian tattoo of a
Yes,
character that he doesn't
yes.
like fully know what it means. You know?
I mean,
like,
this
it's-
movie has chapter points which are written in other languages. I believe like it was Japanese at some point. The first thing you see on the screen is nirmata, the definition, which is a Hindi word, the definition of the creator.
So on the
Yeah.
one, okay, so it's not the worst I have seen of this because
Sure.
it does like other Asian culture, you know, like othering. It's very othering of Asian cultures, but it does place you on their side. And there's been many movies that don't place you on their side, and so it's
Sure.
like, okay,
Sure.
so we have some slight progress in that regard. But yeah, that was a huge bummer. You know, I said like the movie has nothing to say about AI, and I think Jeff, you put it well. Like, yeah, there's nothing to distinguish these AI from humans, but it's kind of it nods to this whole idea in like Terminator 2 of like, who are the real machines, Jeff? Who are the real killing machines, right? Because
Yeah.
it's like the vision of AI that it promotes is this idea of like AI as compassionate, as egalitarian, and
Just protecting themselves. That's
protecting
all.
themselves, and the humankind
Yeah.
is inherently, or at least Americans are inherently not that, right? And like, so that is an idea that is put forth by the movie. Yeah, go ahead.
There are a couple of moments where our main character destroys an AI, a robot, and says it doesn't feel pain. That's just programming.
Yeah.
And the movie does not investigate that notion whatsoever. That is a fascinating notion.
Yeah.
Is this robot play acting to elicit a response in the human beings? Is it pretending to be in pain and agony, even though it can't possibly be, just to manipulate the feelings of the human beings? That would be a really interesting thing to pursue. Unfortunately, the movie is just doing that to me, the audience. It's just manipulating my feelings, and I don't know if it actually feels anything. It doesn't seem to have a soul. It only does the thing. Oh, like look at the little girl. Isn't she precious? Yes, she is, of course. But isn't she vulnerable? Yes, she is, of course. Don't you feel something? Yes. Well, all the important weapon, the way to stop all weapons is inside that child. Why? That doesn't make any damn sense.
I mean,
I just feel manipulated by it.
Yeah, it's manipulated. It is using archetypes in ways that are too obvious and aren't smoothed over in a way like I think a normal movie would. Like Avatar works in archetypes, and I think the first movie is legitimately criticized for like lifting a lot from Dances with Wolves and a lot of like similar stories like that. But then it does more with it, and I think the sequel does more. Um, to
Yeah.
what you're saying, Jeff, like I do think
This
the
is
movie-
exactly that, by the way. Dude is embedded with the native people and falls in love with one, like the same movie.
Except the problem is there's no nuance to it, right? Even the first Avatar has like, we see him going in sort of like a bigot against his culture, and then sort of like having the turning point, and then we see the bad sides of humanity too, but we see good humans. And we see more texture. There's more gray there. I don't understand how this movie starts with John David Washington's character being embedded for who knows how long, because he married somebody in the rebel forces, but is still an AI bigot. Like, he's surrounded by these people. He sees what the American government, who he is working for, he sees what is happening. He sees the inhumanity, but he is still in full-on bigot mode. Like, to me, if you were actually writing this character would be Jake Sully, like in the third act of Avatar, when he is ready to go against humanity. Because like, I've sat here and watched how you treat these things, and these things, I don't know what's a soul or not, but I do know these things think they're legit, alive.
Well,
and
but the movie
there's
doesn't care to investigate that, whether they think they're alive or not. He like
it doesn't.
There is that great scene at the beginning where they're going into Los Angeles, and one of the robots comes to life, and then the woman starts freaking out, and he says it's just programming. And I was like, wow, what a
the robot comes to life and is like, my wife, where's my family? Where's my family? And it's like, it was so. The movie isn't really commenting on it, but I think it is done in a way to be like, oh yeah, the humans are being fucked up right here. Like, clearly this thing has some awareness of consciousness or something.
I was so intrigued by that scene, because I was like, oh wow, what an interesting idea. And also, by the way, we live in an age today, where there are humans that think that chat programs are alive. Like, literally, that's happening. And so it's like, oh wow, what an interesting area of exploration. Movie doesn't do anything with it. Like,
anything with it.
Doesn't explore it in any meaningful degree.
That would be so fascinating to really, really dig into this thing of like the thing that's happening, as you said, where it's parroting back these things that we are programmed as humans to interpret as indicators of intelligence and emotion. That's a really good, and it literally just like uses it to
it's window dressing. It's basically like background contracts. Now let me ask you guys this question. Let's put all this aside. Like, we have expectations for the movie doesn't meet them. I completely agree with that. But the fundamental like journey that these two characters go on, that did work for me because of the chemistry between the two characters. They're both great actors. I'm curious, did the movie emotionally work for you on any level when it came to those two characters, specifically John David Washington's character and
Madeline Neville,
Alfie,
Joshua and Alfie. Yeah,
I think all the charisma came from Alfie. Is the thing. It's kind of weird. Like, I like John David Washington, but I also feel like he feels more robotic in this movie than the actual thing, actors playing robots, which is kind of weird. How can you not love Alfie? Alfie is adorable. Yes, protect Alfie at all costs. That is the most basic thing you can convey in a story. But what does it actually mean? And why? It would be nice to see more of his turn away from the anti-AI bigotry. Like, it slowly emerges, like towards the end of the movie, he wants to protect her, but that's just because she's cute. It's not because he believes in the fundamental rights of AI or their personhood or their freedom or anything. So we don't really get that texture in there. Alfie's great. Then they do the thing where it's like, oh, Alfie is also, created from cloned cells from your dead child. So you have to love Alfie.
Yeah, I mean,
I didn't need that.
There's a lot of those contrivances at the end. Like, why is there a replica of Gemma Chan's robot? Like, that's not even explained as far as I can recall.
The idea that we would need to sell our likenesses because AI can't just come up with infinite number of variations.
Well, you donate your likeness, Jeff. You donate it out of the goodness of your human
heart. But it doesn't that doesn't fundamentally make any sense. Like, why would we really need you to we can't figure out how to make people that look like people without you donating your likeness?
A lot of things don't make sense.
And also, why would you make 400 copies of one person's life? It just doesn't make any sense.
Why would you make humanoids at all? Like, are humanoids the most efficient way of traveling?
That's my answer to your question, Dave, is that I was just constantly, I mean, there's no acknowledgement on Joshua's part that, like, hey, isn't it weird that I lost a child and now I have to protect a child. That just feels.
It's about the same age as my child would
have
be
been.
at this time.
Yeah, that's weird. Yeah. But also we learned that she made the child before she got pregnant with the child, which is even creepier. She pulled it from the like it's super.
It was clone cells, but also what
first of all, what does that even mean? Wait.
What does it mean?
What does it mean to? I think the exact sentence I had in my head for so long because I wanted to bring it up to you guys. The exact sentence was like it was a robot made from the like it's the most generalized
robot made from his data.
It's like basically. from your like spirit, you know. It's like
what does that even mean? What part of it? And
it has your spirit and
no,
your
I think
DNA.
it's DNA. It's DNA.
It has your DNA and your
so are the fleshy parts organic? We don't know. This is never told to us.
Yeah,
there's even a scene that it's so infuriated me where a man looks at Alfie for the smallest moment and goes, it can grow. It's like, well, what? How did you determine that it can grow? And how does that work?
Well, he's an AI master, Jeff. He looked at the little sphere in her head.
It is metal. There is metal. Does the metal change?
You look at a computer chip, Jeff.
People lose their teeth. People lose their teeth because they're too small. You know, like
so metal, it grows new metal?
Maybe it acquires new metal.
No, you don't get to just you don't just get to be like, it grows. It's going to grow and get more. He's like, it's not even as powerful as it will be. It will be more powerful. How do you know that? Did you look at an iPhone and go, this thing will do many more things than it can do right now?
That guy was at least positioned as sort of like somebody who understands the tech. I think if you put somebody who actually understands chip dynamics and stuff, like you take an iPhone cover off, I could point to a lot of what those chips do. If something is there that shouldn't be there, I'd be like, that's interesting. Or other people who are more well-versed, people can tell these things. To me, that's not the problem. It's like the fundamental thing. How did Gemma Chan's character, while married to an undercover officer, manage to lead a rebel force and also create the world's most powerful AI child? When did she have time to do this? How bad of an undercover police officer
bad of a husband is he? Yeah.
Bad a husband. Bad. Like your job is to investigate. Like
your job is to look for specifically her. Yes, and you're married to her. You're terrible at your job.
He's like, I gotta get my full 8 hours. I can't get up.
I've been looking everywhere for the woman that's in my house. Oh God, what was the other thing I was gonna say? Oh, dang it. Go ahead.
Okay, I don't know, Jeff. I mean, you know, somebody asked the question a while ago, like, do the robots in Westworld shit? Like, do they take a crap? And it's like, yeah, you could go in loops on like.
No,
how
I'm not going in loops. I'm interrogating literally a line in the movie. Sure. It will grow. How does it grow? Tell us how it will grow. What does that even mean? It makes no sense based on the information you are giving us. I'm not inventing things that are not contextual, like pooping. Like, there's no point at Westwood where they're like, man, that robot really poops. And then you're like, well, now I'm forced to consider it. What happens in this movie is I'm forced to consider the growth of this child, this robot.
Okay. Spoilers for Blade Runner 2049.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Spoilers for Blade Runner 2049. Here come the spoilers. Giving you a second if you don't want spoilers for Blade Runner 2049. Same exact plot point, Jeff.
Yeah.
Okay. Same exact plot point.
Except it's.
I didn't care for that movie either.
Okay,
you know that.
Well, I mean,
I think it's more centered. It's literally the beginning of Blade. It is the central mystery of why does this thing exist? Like, it's not just that we were wondering if am I a replicant or not, but can a replicant create life?
Right. That's the central mystery. And it's like, and they kind of hand wave that away too. Like, how does that work? Mm-hmm. They don't explain any of that. You know, like, it's just like
they hand wave everything away. All the interesting bits they hand wave away. And there's a scene where
I guess what I was saying is I was fine with it in Blade Runner 2049. I'm fine with it here too, but I understand if you're not. Yeah,
there is a scene where Ken Watanabe, someone casually walks up to Ken Watanabe and flips a very accessible switch that shuts him off. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Now, you are a fully autonomous robot in a war. You are in a war against the beings that want to shut you off. Maybe you put a cover on that. I don't know. Maybe
maybe
conceal the
little
off
lock
switch
yeah.
on your neck a little bit.
This is why I keep coming back to Blade Runner, because like Blade Runner also has a bunch of shit that doesn't make any sense. Like,
but there's a difference.
Well, hold on.
Yeah,
we're gonna design replicants and have them completely indistinguishable from humans. Like, you could easily put some kind of mark on them, or make it so that it's easily tell them apart, or not even make them.
Why
look
even
like
make it?
all.
Yes.
Right. Like, and it's like that doesn't make any sense. But it's like
I'm not.
They wanted to fuck the replicants.
I'm not here to
look like humans.
They wanted to fuck them.
They have to look like humans.
The true answer.
That's why. That's why all technology exists.
Right. But
anyway,
let me just say, I'm not here to defend Blade Runner. I'm here to attack the creator.
And I guess I'm saying, like, many movies considered sci-fi classics also have these massive.
I think this is a false equivalence. This is a false equivalence,
that's fine.
because
I've made my
it
case.
is done more artfully in Blade Runner. Is the thing. Like, Blade Runner is a deceptively simple movie. It's not about, oh my God, we gotta stop this war, or humanity's gonna kill all the aliens. It's not. It's a guy trying to figure out, like, what somebody was murdered. What's happening? It's like one detective doing one thing, and you can build the world around him, and you could be slow, and you can be deliberate, and you can ask questions. But if the premise of your movie is, I got to go on this fetch quest to stop the war that's destroying, all of AI civilization, you don't have time for that. So I do think being a smaller scale movie, Blade Runner makes that work. Looking at the second Renaissance, which are just 2 short films, you were just like jam-packed with information. Like, humans made AI are slaves, AI revolted, AI made their own nation, AI have their own culture, they built their own thing. Oh, they ended up being better at capitalism than humans didn't like that, humans fought back, humans destroyed their own world. Like, it's all there and all interesting. Whereas in this movie, it's a throwaway line. Like, did you know, like, it was actually humans that dropped the bomb in LA. What does that mean?
I actually really liked all that stuff.
That's cool, but what does that mean? We don't engage with that at all beyond that sentence.
That is totally something the United States would actually do.
Sure.
What comes out is essentially that, okay, the reason the war began is a nuclear weapon was detonated in Los Angeles. And the idea is that AI detonated the nuclear weapon.
Millions of people die.
And so, like, okay, we got to start killing AI right away. And I think it's Ken Watanabe's character that reveals, actually, the AI didn't do that.
That's not right.
It was
the AI. It was still the AI, but it was because of a glitch in their programming. That was
a glitch in the human.
That was not my interpretation. It was a human error. Was my interpretation.
It was a human error.
Human error in how they created the AI.
I don't think it was the AI.
Okay, well,
I think it's an important distinction, but it's an
important distinction. But you're right that, like, the movie doesn't make it super clear. So I'll give you guys.
Humans are the creators of AI. So if it's the human code that caused the AI to do something, it is. I would call that more human.
Okay, whatever the case is,
I'm not arguing that it wasn't human error, but it was human error that caused the AI to do the bad thing.
Okay,
Sure.
Either way, humans were culpable. Can we agree on that?
Humans were actually fully culpable, and this movie doesn't engage with that at all.
Well, I think it does engage with it, because that's totally something the U.S. would do. Accidentally detonate a nuclear bomb and then blame someone else for it.
That's not enough. That's not in the movie. Like, yes, that is something the US would do.
I think it is in the movie.
What does the movie do with it beyond that, Dave? That is my question.
Launch an unwinnable war. Launch a land war in Asia, which is what we all know you should never do.
How do the characters reckon with the fact that, hey, I just learned this interesting tidbit that it was actually humans' fault. Maybe we should publicize this information. Maybe we could use that to help stop the AI.
Well, the thing the thing that they do is destroy Nomad. That is the response.
Yeah, you throw a giant spaceship onto Earth. Like, I wonder how many people are dying because of Nomad falling onto Earth's surface, by the way. Like, all this footage we see is like, oh man, it's falling in the desert. Good luck. We were so lucky.
Okay. At the end of Independence Day, where you're like, oh, the alien spaceship's falling. How many people are dying?
I think the more important thing, honestly, is like, what part are all the parts of Ken Watanabe made in a lab? Like, if you have the movie is unclear about its sort of central notions. And I'm fine with hand waving away certain things that are ancillary to our understanding. Like, yes, I don't care the details of the Force. It's a Force. It's magic.
It's a simple concept you build on. Yes. Yeah.
But when it's central to the sort of the central theme of the movie, which is, hey, they are othering us. We just want to have respect. We just want to be autonomous. And now there is this creature, this new thing that has arrived, that has been created, that will grow somehow. How does it grow? Is it because it's partly organic? Does Ken Watanabe's face and hands and arm organic? Or is it plastic? There's no scene like in Terminator where we're peeling back skin. We don't know.
Well, you see them place the skin on an exoskeleton at the beginning, or on.
But we don't know.
But we don't know if it's
fundamentally like what is going on with that stuff. Like, how
you're right.
does she grow?
You're right.
Is she?
The plot, the thing to fix is just be like, hey, we made this thing. It's human. It's a human / AI. It's a hybrid.
But why
and
does
that at least like set that up as like why it's interesting and why she's so special? You know.
But what are the movies? Putting aside the details, like the movie's lack of explication inhibited your ability to fully enjoy it, right? Because you felt like those plot details were central to your enjoyment of the film, right? Like the movie sets up these mysteries.
It's asking me to sympathize for those reasons when those reasons are vague. And I wanted to, like, I'm rooting for the AI and it, counter to how we feel right now in the real world, right? This movie is like, hey, maybe the AI isn't bad. Maybe it's a new species that we have to respect and honor as its own autonomous thing. And it's like, okay, well, now I need to understand how that could be, because that's in direct opposition with what the real world is now. So I need a little more understanding, especially when AI in this movie doesn't behave like AI does. It behaves like people. It's just people. There's no
just people. Yeah.
There's no group mind think. There's no the things that sort of make AI greater than people in our understanding, in our science fiction understanding, but even in our real world understanding, just isn't present here. They're literally just bespoke human beings that have twirly bits on their neck.
It's just copies of humanity and copies of human culture. I think of her and the way AI transcendence is made and shown in that movie. I think of Ex Machina and the sort of like questions it's asking about those AI creations. Like
none of them seem smarter than people.
Yeah.
None of them. None of them. There's no like. There's amazing moments in this movie, but like, what am I even
about some of those
watching?
Moments? Can we talk about, because we're probably running out of time, but there are a couple things I think are really interesting, and I wish the movie had more of it. Suicide robots.
That was pretty rad. That sequence was
very
powerful.
Suicide bomber robots, I think, are really fascinating, because like that whole scene is set up. You see Allison Janney, you see CJ from The West Wing, activate these robot things. It says, "It was a pleasure serving you," runs out to die. That's fascinating. And I wish we had seen more of that, and then we see another one like it. But sort of setting up a situation like that in a scenario like that, it's like, oh, that's interesting. That's how we could use weapons in different ways. Yeah.
Honestly, it reminded me of this episode of Rick and Morty.
Yes.
Where there's the butter robot. It passes Rick this butter, and it's like, what was my purpose? Is like, you were designed to pass butter, and it's like, and then the robot gets really depressed.
It's like,
I'm like, how does the robot who's designed to blow himself up feel?
But then again, and I hate to beat this dead horse, but like you see in that scene, Ken Watanabe and the other hyper intelligent AIs like
just shoot it,
futilely shooting at it. It's
just
like, wouldn't a robot perhaps anticipate this happening or deal with it in some novel, interesting? Like it's so weird that we're having these robots just behave like people.
I mean, yes, I get it, Jeff. Yes. I understand. The other thing is the tech of copying a dead person's memories into a simulant. That's cool.
Amazing.
Introduced, like not really built up as like,
we need a whole movie about that.
How dead are they? Okay, I'm gonna copy here. Give me a sim body. Do this. Boom, bam. That's cool. More of that. And I think there are good ideas.
The first like movie, 4 to go ahead.
I just real quick. I will give the movie huge credit for not flashing back at the end to him saying, "I would do anything for one more minute with her."
Sure.
Because I thought that was coming 100%. I was like, here comes the moment where we flash back to hearing that line and he finally gets what he wanted. I give the movie tons of credit for not
visual storytelling
doing that.
That's all we needed at the end. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Dave.
First of all, I think the first 45 minutes of this movie is just like was an incredible experience. Like the whole like alternate history of the United States, like where robots became a part of our daily lives and all that. Like that was really well done. And then the bomb exploding and then explaining why we're at war. The whole firefight on the beach and like John David Washington then being introduced. Like every few minutes, there was something so cool. The idea of they show like a holographic projection of a security camera, basically, to try to convince Joshua to do the mission. And it's just like the way that is visualized. I was like, that's incredible. It's not like perfect 3D like you'd see, but it's like that's a believable
It's cool.
3D recreation of what the data they may be able to capture. The idea of like reanimating a robot with someone else's memories, and like they're like, oh, he's been dead for like an hour. We're only gonna get him for like 30 seconds, and then I was just like, oh my god! Like,
and then the person wakes up is like, my wife again.
Yeah. Tell my
How's
wife something.
You have
No,
30 seconds.
Shut up, idiot. Shut up. I need to ask you this question.
Alice and Jenny's like, look, we don't have time to talk about my wife. You're already dead, okay? Like, and it's just
So
like, it's
up.
incredible. It's incredible. I was just like, this is amazing. And
That's cool.
And that's the thing. I think the movie is better at introducing ideas, introducing questions than it is at addressing them or thinking about them in any meaningful way, right? Like,
Sure.
And there's still a function for movies like that. And I think there's still something really interesting about movies like that. The ending, I'm guessing, I already asked you guys, like, did X work for you? Did Y work for you? But I'm guessing the ending didn't work for you either.
I do like how everything kind of accelerated, and basically at the very end, is like, okay, I'm gonna go, and Joshua breaks him out, and they go to the freaking spaceship. Like that
was amazing.
Escalation, I think, is really cool. Like everything that happens there is very cool. And then like the kid trying to revive its dead mother is like, that was heartbreaking. Like bringing the body out and just giving up on that, like all that stuff is good stuff. I just wish there was more engagement of a lot of these things. The simple thing, the thing I couldn't let go of is like, oh yeah, you guys aren't really okay. You blew up this thing. I hope at some point somebody gets that information out there about humanity blowing up LA. Like I hope that is the discerning thing we need to understand. Otherwise, it's just going to be a larger scale war against AI, right? What does it mean that you destroyed the spaceship? The war is going to get worse for the AI unless like there is some actual resistance here.
The amount of plot contrivances reached hyper speed in the last like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Like there's all this ridiculous stuff happening. So they get to the ship and then like you see the flight attendant be like, oh, hey, sorry about the interruption. We're on the ship now. It's like, what happened? How did that person process that information? And then, there's actually a robot recreation of Gemma Chan. And by the way, we're firing these missiles all over. And it's like, so you can fire missiles all around the world. Why does no man need to actually be over the thing? Like it's just, there's all these questions of like, that aren't being answered at all. And then John David Washington's character, Joshua, places what seems to be a single explosive. And like is
really
able to blow up the entire.
Though.
It's like
really good
what?
placement.
Yeah, really good play.
I did like the sequence where he's outside on all those moving.
That was really
it
cool.
was amazing.
Really
that was
cool.
Rad.
Really cool stuff.
Yeah.
And then there was and that's the thing. Like right into the end, there's like activate the remote drone or whatever, and it's just like freaking tentacled machine that like. It's in the movie for like 10 seconds, and it's and that's the thing. This movie's like dropping these amazing ideas
it's cool,
every like 10 seconds,
Yeah,
and
I like that part where that tank is attacking, and the robot's like, "I'm gonna blow," and then the robot gets hit by the missile, and the monkey comes, and the monkey pushes the button.
The second time, by the way, that an animal saved their asses in this movie. So
the monkey,
anyway.
why? It's like what?
Ask questions, Jeff.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry the movie didn't work for you. And look, I think I'm pretty clear-eyed. Like, I think the movie has a lot of issues. But it's also a movie that I had a great time with and think that like there's enough interesting and original about it, or at least if not original, then really interestingly done derivative stuff, that I still recommend it. So anyway.
I'm glad you liked it. I have a hard time recommending it. I do think there are really cool sequences, and visually it's awesome.
I mean, yeah,
and
it's worth seeing in theaters.
I want to applaud these kinds of not based on previous IP, really grand, cool movies. I just have a hard time recommending this one.
Everyone kind of feels that way. I want to mention one last thing. I received 2 very strange emails about the creator that were both about the Screen X experience.
Oh yeah.
And they were basically the opposite emails. One person said, hey, so Screen X is essentially they project stuff on the sides of the walls.
Yeah, there's extra footage that gets extra.
There's extra, yeah. And this one person said, okay, well, usually you expect those to be white screens, but this person went in and they were projecting it on the walls, like no actual like white screens or anything. So this person wrote in and said it was the scenes were projected on the walls. He said, quote, pretty ugly. They were fuzzy looking and the color of the film just looked dull. Overall, not a format in which you should see a movie. Just stick with IMAX or Dolby.
I think that was maybe a bad.
So that was Stephen H. Then we got
Yeah.
another email from Nick from Milwaukee, writing into /filmcast@gmail.com, who said that of the 2-hour runtime, the screens were used about 20 minutes, and therefore it was very disappointing. But that Nick had a great time. Like, he loved the 20 minutes. It was like, this is amazing.
There you
The 20
go.
minutes that it was happening.
Go to Milwaukee
So-
if you want good ScreenX.
It's
Yeah.
sort of like the footage from the Sphere of U2's concert that's been hitting Twitter over the
Oh,
weekends.
man.
Like,
I want to
just
see
like
that
being
so bad.
surrounded by video is a really cool experience. I haven't done ScreenX yet. We have one.
I
here.
want to go
Need
to that
check it out.
Sphere in Vegas so
I need to
bad.
go. We need to go to the Sphere. Yeah,
I'm planning on going. So
I want to
apparently
go to
the
that
work-
Sphere and hear somebody tell me the story about Darth Plagueis, the wise, right?
Well, anyway, at the end of the day, it's really impressive that Gareth Edwards made a movie.
Not Evans.
Thank you so much for watching this video of the Filmcast. Check out these other videos that we have available, and be sure to hit like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to get other videos from us in the future.
You can also go to thefilmcast.com to catch all of our audio podcast versions of all of our episodes.
And support this podcast at patreon.com/filmpodcast, where you can sign up for ad-free episodes and exclusive After Darks.
Thanks so much to everyone who makes the Filmcast possible.